Good afternoon, and thank you for attending our webinar today. Today we're going to talk about mobile workforce optimization. This is a webinar series. Today is part one. We are talking about reducing operational costs in today's webinar. Just before we get started, I want to give a quick thank you to everyone who has taken their time out of their day to attend. Specifically, thank you to our current customers who may be attending. We're going to be about 30 minutes today, so it's not going to be a really long webinar, but just to give you an idea, we're going to give 20 or 25 minutes of a presentation and then open it up for questions and answers. So today's webinar, as I mentioned, is part one of our series. The other parts, part 2 and 3, are coming up August 3rd and August 17th. And we're going to be talking about increasing productivity and revenue in part 2, delivering better customer experiences in part 3. And if you have, obviously, if you're attending, you've already registered, you are automatically registered or eligible for both the part 2 and part 3. If you have friends or colleagues or anyone else that you want to invite to these webinars, they can still register for the webinars for part 2 and part 3 and receive part 1 as a recording. So it's not too late to register, even though today is part 1. So if you, again, have colleagues you want to invite, please do so. Just forward them a link or have them come to our website. They can definitely sign up there on the website. Before we get started today, I wanted to go in a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, like I mentioned, the event is being recorded. So we will send out a link to the recording after the event is over. So if you need to attend to some other business, if you need to drop off the webinar, don't worry, we will send the recording link out. If you have questions, please submit them in the question feature there on the app, and we will do our best to answer those at the end of the webinar. So just ask any question you have, we'll try and answer it at the end. There's also a chat feature, so if you have any specific urgent questions, you have a hard time hearing the volume, or if there's anything you need an immediate answer to, just write that in the chat feature, and we'll answer that as we're going along. So today's speakers are Dave Bazarko and Kyle Dedman, and they're both solutions engineers here at Actsoft. They've both been with the company a long time, so these guys know their stuff. I mean, they have dealt with all different kinds of situations in all different kinds of industries and with all different kinds of customers, so they really know what they're talking about. Dave specifically has, as you see there, has implemented 38 of 360 of sites for our largest customer. They both have degrees in business management, so it's going to be a real treat to hear what they have to say today. I'm not sure, I'm just going to open up the mic and they're going to kind of go back and forth as they're presenting. But guys, thank you for taking your time, and go ahead.
Thank you, Ken. So today we'll be talking about the benefits of enabling mobile workforce management technology. And just kind of refresher, mobile workforce management is a category of software and services used to manage employees working outside of the company premises. Digitizing the experience for your mobile workforce helps you learn more about the daily operations and empower you to make smart business decisions backed by data. Implementing mobile workforce management solutions will help in 3 ways: reduce expenses, increase productivity, and enhance revenue generation. Today, we're going to be concentrating on the expense reduction piece. So using our all-in solution to eliminate paper costs, reduce fuel and payroll expenses, and limit the amount of manual data entry your employees have to do. The reduction in form errors and in illegibility as well. All of this data is from VMware, empowering your employees through digital transformation and mobile devices. 93% of surveys respondents said it was important to be able to access job-related data and apps from their mobile devices. I know personally, given the tools that Actsoft provides to us in order to accomplish a lot of my duties out in the field, because I am remote, has definitely reduced the expenses to the company And it's also really, really changed the way that I'm able to go about and perform the duties associated to my job, for sure. 87% of surveyed CIOs agreed that providing their employees with digital tools could have a 5% increase in overall revenue within a 3-year period. And 34% of empowered employees work more efficiently.
Dave. So now that Dave showed you some statistics around digital transformation, let's look at exactly what that means. So the definition is basically the process of adapting to digital technology to replace your paper or manual processes in order to gain efficiencies and increase your production. So we can see this done in several ways, most commonly in these 4 areas. For forms, it's taking things that are probably being filled out on paper today and then digitizing them to be filled out on a mobile device or through an application. This will allow for instant receipt of data in your back office, so you can process that invoice immediately, get that data back much quicker than waiting for the end of the week or for that employee to return to the office. With timekeeping, you can take that office time clock that everybody comes to every day, and it allows them to clock in and out from the field or when they get to their first job. You could also maybe get rid of a paper timesheet that's being recorded and turned in at the end of the week, stained with coffee or barely legible. Now that data is going to be immediately available within that web portal. It's going to save you countless hours spent compiling that payroll at the end of the week. The third one there, dispatching. So we've seen with dispatching, you can remove the need for the employee to come into the office. So maybe they're coming in each morning and getting a list of their assignments of what they need to do. And with digitizing it and being able to send them their work orders through an app, they can then start their day at their first job. This is going to save the company not only time and labor, but also fuel costs. You're able to also see where those employees are on a map. So if you get those emergency calls or on-the-fly assignments, you can easily identify who's your closest worker, who's got the most bandwidth, and assign that job to them. And the last one on there is the last benefit we see is the asset tracking. And an asset can be anything from your vehicles, it can be equipment being used out in the field, but converting this to a digital process, gone are the days of keeping track of Excel spreadsheets or maybe a whiteboard that indicates the last location you used that. By embedding it with a GPS device, you're going to be able to see everything on a live view, right on a map where everything is in near real time. So now that we've discussed, what digital transformation is, let's talk a little bit about how it can be used to automate your workforce. So these statistics here come from the Aberdeen Group, and there are 4 key benefits to automating your workforce. The first one there is a 39% reduction of time spent by your employees on their workforce management activities per hour. So that's a significant reduction in the amount of time they're doing their daily duties. The second one is a 31% overall reduction in your labor costs. The third is a 36% reduction of time spent by management on those workforce management activities. So a lot less time combing through data, trying to find the pieces of information you need when everything's going to live within a web portal for you. And the last one there, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth in part 3 of our series. But it's a 36% improved accuracy of the data you're getting.
Thank you, Kyle. So now that we've seen some of these numbers, what we take a look at is some of the challenges that are presented to us and how we use the mobile workforce management solution in order to solve for those challenges. So when we look at monitoring remote worker activity, mobile workforce management helps you boost workforce accountability and productivity with GPS tracking. So you're going to be getting, up to the minute view of where folks are at. So you're looking at their worker activity, you're getting their accountability, you're seeing what they're out there doing, you're making sure that they're where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. And then you can also get near real-time status updates with job dispatching and alert notifications. So being able to see when somebody gets on site at a job location, and then they're able to change their status to say, either en route, on site and then mark it as completed. Then once that is completed, to have that information come in immediately to the back end. We look at reducing costs. So one of the main areas there is lower organizational operating costs by eliminating paperwork expenses and possible costly handwritten errors via wireless forms. And how we do that is by utilizing some of the features within wireless form to take away maybe some of that error producing activities like mistyping or losing paperwork or not filling out certain parts of paperwork that do need to be filled out, not capturing those signatures that need to be captured, and also being able to create drop-down a list in order to select from the drop-down instead of just typing free into a text box. And then we look at reducing overtime with mobile timekeeping as well as fuel expenses with GPS tracking. So always reducing those costs. If we can take, a couple of hours a week from that payroll by having a more accurate timekeeping experience, that's huge. The last is field data on demand, receiving critical information from the field instantly. I mentioned that, but with job dispatching, of how we can get, once those work orders are completed, you can get a notification to say that this is completed and all that information is there already. You can pull custom reports at will or schedule them to run at a more efficient operation. There's also database-driven forms allow for up-to-date information and help you provide optimal customer service. So again, when we're looking at reducing costs and eliminating those expenses, mobile workforces who take advantage of the digitization see a reduction in cost and an increase in form accuracy. Plus, there is a net positive impact on the environment by going digital. Triplicate forms, they're expensive. You have to pay for design layout, the toner, everything that goes along with creating a paper form that needs to be filled out is a cost. And not only just having those produced and then having them at the office, but if an employee messes up on one and they need to start over, there you go, there's a cost right there. So now they have to start a new one. But what happens when you need to change that form, or a new process comes into your company and you need to change that form in order to do that? Are you going to have to go back and have those forms designed again and then have them printed all over again? What do you do with the ones that you can no longer use? You're going to have to throw those away or recycle them. So there's a lot of costs that go into using paper forms, and there's a lot of cost reduction when we look at digitizing that process. Aberdeen Group tells us that by utilizing wireless forms, 50% reduction in time spent filling out forms, a 75% reduction in time spent processing forms, and 100% reduction in cost of paper, printing, ink, and copying.
All right, and with staff tracking and verification, we're seeing that mobile workforces who take advantage of digitization gain and retain more business and also reduce the inefficiencies of traditional paperwork. So again, citing that Aberdeen Group, for mobile timekeeping, for example, you can expect to see 1 to 2 hours of reduced overtime expenses per employee per week. And why is this? It's because you're not getting that piece of paper at the end of the week that says they arrived at 8 a.m. on the dot every day and left at 5 p.m. on the dot. You're actually getting accurate time with a GPS stamp of when and where they clocked in and clocked out. You're also going to see a 30% reduction in time spent processing invoices and a 25% reduction in time spent processing payroll. You're not going to be collecting all that paper and you're putting it into spreadsheets, totaling everything. It's all going to be captured digitally. You're going to be able to run a single report at the end of the day or at the end of the week to see the total time for the week. And then job dispatching. With digitized dispatching, you're not only going to see an increased production, but you're going to see a reduction of 30% in time spent processing invoices 50% reduction in time spent on job assignments. And that's going to gain you 1 to 2 additional jobs per employee per week. And I mentioned earlier about the asset tracking and management. Digitizing that is going to give you oversight of your entire mobile operation. It's going to allow you to make smarter decisions in your real time. If we once again look at those statistics, there's quite a bit of savings there. You're going to get a 15% savings on fuel costs. You're now going to be able to route somebody to a job that's actually closest to them. Not have to call them on the phone and hope to get them. Not have to guess who may be closest, but you're actually going to be able to see who's closest. That's also going to help with your fleet maintenance cost. We're seeing a 30% savings on that. You're not going to have that excess engine runtime, causing additional, damage to the vehicle or fuel costs. And then 2 to 3 hours of idle time is going to be reduced per vehicle per week. In those hot summer months like we're in now, where they're sitting there, running the AC because there's no oversight. But once they know that that vehicle is being monitored, they're not going to leave your vehicles running for idle, 15, 20 minutes at a time. And the last stat there is 100% savings on recovery of stolen vehicles or equipment. That's a no-brainer. If you're able to recover something that you previously would not have, you're going to get all your savings back. And not to mention reducing your insurance claims, which is going to make your insurance go higher.
So we have some real life customer examples, just 3 of them that we'd like to talk about. First one is a field service company. They have 80 field technicians. They eliminated the paper timesheets and their inspection checklists. And they've also decided to track their technicians' vehicles. And so they've been able to look at the productivity of not only the technician, but also look at vehicle maintenance, as Kyle mentioned, and gas usage. Gas usage being, the idle times and things like that. And right now they're experiencing about a $3,500 monthly savings. Traffic control rental company have 35 field technicians, saving about $1,000 a month by reducing their paper costs and on the printing and manual processing of their time cards every month. And then we have a water district field service company. They have 110 field workers and have saved hundreds of hours in time and labor expenses by digitizing work, order, distribution, and dispatching.
All right, so now that we've talked about mobile workforce management and digitizing your paperwork, let's talk a little bit about how that's going to reduce costs and increase efficiencies. So we wanted to highlight our platform, Mobile Workforce Plus, because what this will do is give you an all-in-one web portal that you can do things from dispatching to forms to timekeeping to tracking. And it's a complete suite of modules. You can pick and choose what you need and customize to your business need and modernize your workforce. Some additional benefits that come with the Mobile Workforce Plus are professional services. So if you want to use your own backend software that you're using today and you want to have the data flow into, let's say, your payroll system, we have a professional services team that can set up API integrations. They can build custom reports. They can build dashboards. And this is actually included with the Mobile Workforce Plus, up to $18,000 annually, about $1,500 a month in services that will be provided. In addition, a dedicated customer experience team. We have a 24/7 domestic support. Someone's going to be available that understands your business. They're going to run monthly, weekly reports, give you usage statistics, just to make sure that you're seeing a return on your investment.
All right, thanks, guys. we're going to open it up for questions. We've had a couple come in already. Remember, if you have a question you want to ask, just go ahead and put it into the question feature, and we will answer that right now. So as those are coming in, I just kind of wanted to go back to that stat, Kyle, that you mentioned was pretty amazing. If you're able to add 1 to 2 jobs per technician per week, 1 to 2 extra jobs, you start doing the math. I mean, if you've got 20 field technicians and you're doing 1 to 2 extra jobs per month, I mean, that could be 80 to 100 or more extra per month with that team. So that's, that's quite a bit of savings that you've got, or quite a bit of additional capacity that you've got, I guess, with those digitization efforts. Okay, let's see here. The first question is, okay, can you create custom forms to replace paper forms in your app, or are they all templates? And either Kyle or Dave, whoever wants to answer that.
Sure. So the answer is yes. You can create custom forms, and we also have a library of templates that we're already made that you could actually search to see if maybe one would fit exactly what you're looking for, and you can always modify one of those, or you could start from scratch in our form builder and start building on the form to go exactly how you would want it to go.
So is that, I mean, just building off of that, is this something that's difficult to do, to start from scratch to build that? Is that something that takes a lot of time, or how does that work?
Not at all. It is pretty much a drag and drop of the field type that you would like it to be, whether that be a text box, a drop-down menu, a radio button, a camera field, a signature field. In our form builder, on the left-hand side, you have all these field types, and you would go ahead and say, okay, this next field, I need it to be a drop-down menu. So you would select drop-down, drag it over, and it would then say, okay, put a title here, and then you would go ahead and add all the items that you would want in that drop-down menu and hit save. And then if the next field that you needed was just a text box where you needed to make some comments, you could do that. We also have built in there that you could create conditional fields, and that basically says, depending on what you selected from, say, a drop-down menu or a radio button that said yes or no, we can kind of, you can create different logic based on how you answered those particular questions as well. But it's all right there in the form builder. It's very easy to use. Plus, our mobile workforce plus platform has kind of an in product did you knows type things, or ways to kind of help walk you through of how to build those out as well. Plus, we have all of the resources at Actsoft.
Okay, so it sounds like you could basically take a paper form and recreate that. I mean, obviously it's not going to look exactly the same, but it's going to have the exact same questions and logic and types of fields that you've got on your paper form. You're just recreating it digitally.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question here. What devices can I use the Actsoft app on? Can I use on iPhone, Android, other ?
Yeah, great question. So it is available in the Apple and the Android store. It can be used on any device that has any iOS device or any Android device, whether it's a phone or a tablet. So those are the two platforms that we support.
And so even if your team has a mix of those two devices, they could still mix that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next question here. Okay. Our employees drive to our office and then get in the work trucks and head out to their job sites. I need to be able to track time for payroll, but also time spent on the job for job costing. Can we have different clock-in options?
Yes. So, and I guess that kind of depends on how you want to set it up. But when using our timekeeping module, you actually are able to go ahead and add form fields to when you clock in and out. So you could create either a list of jobs or just a list of cost codes, so that when you do clock in, you would be able to select either the job from a list and the cost code, or something like that. So you have kind of a customization part of the timekeeping aspect in order to do job costing.
And Dave, does it, sorry, I'm not as familiar with the product as you are, but I've heard of geofencing. You can set a geofence around a customer location, and once the employee crosses that and exits that geofence, it automatically tracks that. Is that accurate to say?
Yes. So because we are GPS tracking, every time you create a geofence, or you stop at a location and then you start going again, whether you create a geofence or not, we're always going to be keeping track of all that kind of stuff. So they could be clocked in and just going around throughout their day, and say you go to a customer location and they're there for an hour and 34 minutes. We can see what time they arrived and what time they departed, basically just on GPS tracking. But if you also wanted them to clock in and out at the different jobs, we could also do that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. It looks like that is all the questions that we have for today. We're almost at half an hour as well. So again, everyone, thank you for attending. Thanks Kyle and Dave for your information and for the presentation today. And if you, as an attendee, if you've got any questions, if you want to get in touch with one of our product specialists and talk about your specific job situation and how digitizing might work for your organization, you can contact us through either the website URL that we've got here or the phone number. So either way, reach out to us if you've got any questions. And thank you very much for attending. We will see you hopefully in 2 weeks when we have part 2 of this webinar series. Thanks everyone. Goodbye.